Okay, my name is Bryan from WHITBY OSHAWA Honda. Thank you for tuning in. Today is the 11th of November, and it's a really special day. It's Remembrance Day. I'm a veteran, and this day in particular, made in Canada, means a lot to me. And I'm going to talk to you about the Honda Civic, which is proudly made in Canada by Canadians for Canadians. Now, the Civic is a special vehicle. It's been the best-selling passenger car in Canada for like the last 20 years, and that's a real anomaly. In any other country, it's 6 consecutive years. And Canadians statistically do more homework before buying a vehicle than any other nation. So for the Civic to be #1, it actually says a lot about the car and the quality and everything that goes into it. So I'm going to tell you the Honda Civic story. So it is, again, the best-selling passenger car in Canada. It is the largest car in its class. It has the largest trunk in its class. It is class-leading fuel efficiency, it is class-leading quality, and it is class-leading safety. It has the largest center console. It is the most aerodynamic car in its class. And with aerodynamics, you get a quieter ride, and it's also more fuel efficient because there's less wind resistance. Now, something that's amazing that actually might lower your insurance premium is the Honda Civics, if it's got CVT, which is continuously variable transmission. Basically, CVT transmission is one smooth band of power, which makes it a smoother ride and it's more fuel efficient. And we have the highest rated transmission in the industry. So when it's got CVT, it's also going to have what's called Honda Sensing technology, which is a whole extra suite of driver-assisted safety technology. So you might be able to see a little triangular cutout by the mirror. That's a camera. And there's a radar system built into the front bumper assembly. So the Civic is constantly scanning for pedestrians, lines on the road, and other vehicles. So it's got a forward collision warning. If you're coming in too fast on something, it's going to let you know brake, brake, brake. And under the right conditions, the vehicle will try to slow down or stop completely. Now, that's called a collision mitigation braking system. The best way to survive a collision is not to have one at all. And we're finding insurance companies like this one a lot. We're finding a lot of our Honda customers that are upgrading to the newer models, their insurance is going down. Now, it's also got a lane departure warning. If you're driving over 72 kilometers an hour, if the road conditions are clear, if you start crossing over lines without signaling, the vehicle thinks that you're distracted or fatigued. The steering wheel is going to vibrate. It'll say lane departure, and what's called the road departure mitigation system will try to nudge you back in the lane to keep you safe. And there's 2 other features that I use every single day, adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist. Now, adaptive cruise control, let's say you're on the 401 and you got your speed pinned at 100 kilometers an hour. If you start creeping up on a slower driver, the vehicle is going to slow down automatically for you, always giving you safe stopping distance. And if the vehicle in front of you veers out of the way, the Civic will go back to the intended speed that you set it for. So with your foot off the brake and accelerator, it's always safely controlling the speed for you. And then if you engage lane keeping assist, the vehicle doesn't fight you, but it does provide some smooth, intuitive steering input to keep you centered in the lane. The vehicle does most of the driving for you. And the Civic also has something called low speed follow. So imagine if you're following a vehicle and you stop down at a red light, just click resume and the vehicle is going to go back to the intended speed that you set it for. So in particular, if you do a lot of driving, you're going to love the Civic. Now, is safety important to you? So, because safety is one of the key pillars of the Honda brand. So much so they have their own independent crash test facility in the States where all they do is destroy cars all day. It would probably be an amazing job. So I'm going to talk to you about Honda's Ace body structure. I just have to pop the hood. Okay, so you're paying for quality with Honda, and part of that quality is there's a really high content of what's called high tensile steel. Now, this is stronger than regular steel, but it's also less weight. And what will happen is if there's a collision, it's going to disperse the energy around the cabin versus going through the cabin. This is absolutely vital for your protection. These little marks here, this is for energy absorbing crumple zone, these perforations. And actually, if you did get into a serious head-on collision, the engine mount will drop out completely. You may run over it, but it's not going to visit you and your family in the cabin. And the airbags deploy off what's called a dual-stage airbag system. So depending on the nature of the collision, the airbags will deploy in whatever way is best suited for your protection. And I'm extremely proud of Honda for doing something. You get a free service, it's called Honda Link Assist. If the airbags deploy, the car calls Honda. There's an operator standing by 24 hours, 7 days a week. They will locate where you are and help is on the way. So I hope you never need this, but if you're incapacitated and you don't know where you are, they will find you, and it works extremely well. Now, Honda's so big into safety, they've actually disrupted the industry with their safety standards. So for years and years, new cars coming on the market would go through a battery of crash tests. So like a full frontal, side, rear collision, that type of thing. But in the real world, Honda realized that straight head-on collisions don't occur very often. In fact, if you and I were going to be crashing into each other, there'd be some panic steering, and it usually comes in from the front corner. So Honda added a test. It's a really violent test if you see the video. The vehicle flies in at a high rate of speed and smashes a solid immovable object on the corner. Now, Honda's Ace body structure is designed to withstand a crash of that nature. So the government saw what Honda was doing and told the other car companies, you need to replicate that test. And they're failing because when they do Honda's test on the corner crash, the steering wheel is turning away from the driver and the airbag is deploying away from the occupant. So I'm confident you will not find a safer car for the money. Now, another nice thing about the vehicle is the cost of ownership. There is no preset service interval in the Hondas. Some companies, you've got to change the oil every 3 months or 6,000 kilometers. It just doesn't make sense because we all drive differently. So Hondas are equipped with what's called a maintenance minder system. When the vehicle is new or when it's been serviced, it's going to indicate that your oil life is at 100%. And then over driving cycles and conditions and so forth, that number ticks down. When it gets down to 15% of the oil life, it'll say service the engine soon, and at 5%, service the engine now. Now, based on my personal driving habits, I've been getting between 13 and 14,000 kilometers between oil changes. Again, it depends if you're more of a city driver, more of a highway driver, but there will be long gaps between service. Now, we use a high-grade synthetic oil. Honda actually helps offset the price of the oil for you. So it'll be a lot, people think it's more expensive servicing at the dealership. That's actually not the case, and you're in very good hands if you come to a Honda dealership. Also, when you see Earth Dreams technology, Honda has challenged itself to reduce emissions by 30% and be the most fuel-efficient vehicle in every class where it competes. Now, this model here is the Touring Edition. So this is the high trim level in the Civic Sedan. It has a 1.5-liter turbo. The turbo does not require premium fuel. And actually, if you operate the vehicle without using the paddle shifters, it is the most fuel-efficient car in its class. And fuel efficiency is one of the key purchase considerations for drivers in Canada. So class-leading fuel efficiency, class-leading safety. Now, I want to talk to you about quality. Honda has legendary quality. And one of the things I love pointing out, when you look around a new Honda motor, you're going to see little ink marks in places. It's kind of dotted. It's kind of subtle, but it's all over the place if you look closely. And what this is Honda's assembly process. It's part of the secret sauce to their quality. Imagine if you and I were on the line together and the vehicle came to me first and I install my component, and say the vehicle goes to you next. You can't touch your part until you made sure that my part was done perfectly. Check. The person after you will double check your work. So you've kind of got this ongoing overlap of quality control. And in every single pay cycle, quality assurance is measuring the performance of each assembly team. And if they're building them perfectly, they get a cash bonus every pay. And they even switch positions on the line every 40 minutes so they're fresh. So it doesn't matter if your Honda was made on Monday morning after the Super Bowl or Friday afternoon of a long weekend, the commitment to quality is there. These cars last a long, long time. And that's one of the reasons they've got such amazing resale value. The vehicle also uses a timing chain, not a timing belt. The chain is designed to last the life of the vehicle. And everything is color coded. If you had to check the oil manually, it's marked here in orange. And all you need to do is worry about what's marked here in blue, and that's your wiper fluid. Now, Honda is quite aware of the needs of Canadians, and the wiper fluid jug is a 4-liter jug, not a 2-liter jug, which is important as we're getting into the winter months. You won't always be having to re-top up your wiper fluid. And I learned something interesting that should be the law, but it's actually not. When you get low wiper fluid in your Civic, any Honda actually, you're going to get the low wiper fluid warning. So that'll give you the heads up, it's time to top it up. Some cars don't have that and you just run out. So imagine if you're on the highway and it's a slushy day and you just run into wiper fluid, you'd be blind. So the Honda will let you know in advance, and again, it's a nice big jug for you. And another neat thing is, since the previous generation Honda Civic, the battery is about 50% larger. So that's going to help us on those really cold days. Some cars that don't start your Civic probably will. Again, made in Canada. These are actually made in Alliston, Ontario. Big batteries are a good thing. This particular vehicle, being the Touring Edition, it's got LED headlights. These are really nice and bright at night. The other ones would have projector beam halogen lights. The government keeps changing the requirements to achieve a top safety pick with a plus rating. And the Civic has a necessary requirement. So you need to have something called auto high beams. So imagine you're on a country road at night and you got your high beams on. You know, you see a car coming and turn them off and then back on, then off. The Civic, because it can see that the vehicle is coming, will do that for you. So it's trying to maximize your nighttime visibility. So if you're alone on the road, you might notice your high beams come on, and that's so you can see better at night. And that's a great safety feature too. So with the Honda Civics, if it's an EX or above, it's going to be keyless entry, push button start, and it has a remote starter. I have to park outside, so a remote starter for me is a really big deal. So with the keyless entry, the key can be in your pocket. This will just unlock for you. And then you can press this button, it'll lock on the way out. Now there's another really cool feature here. Again, EX trim level and above. There's an extra camera here. So they all have backup cameras, but this is called Lane Watch. This is exclusive to Honda. You'll see when you apply the right turn signal, this camera comes on. It's going to show you so much more around the vehicle on the main screen. It's a fantastic feature. If you're ever downtown in Toronto, for example, where there's a few cyclists that are a little crazy, you're going to see those people coming. But perhaps you hear a motorcycle buzzing around. There's a lot of good reasons for this camera, and it's exclusive to the Honda Civic. This is in the top 2 or 3 of legroom, and it's actually really good for tall people who have to sit in the back. I think your visitors will find it really comfortable. And this one being the Touring Edition, it's got heated seats in the front and the back. And I should also point out that Honda does a lot of research and development in seat comfort. So in particular, if you got back issues, the heated seats have 3 heat positions. It goes right up your back. It's like therapeutic. It's absolutely wonderful. But your guests will find it very comfortable as well. All right, love the back of this car. The tail lights are very distinctive on the Civic. These are extremely bright at night and distinctive, and if anybody rear-ends you in this car, they must be severely distracted or impaired. There's someone should not run into you because these lights are so bright. It's a great safety feature. Your backup camera is right here, and it is a multi-angle camera. You can look at different angles of width, and you can even look straight down if you want. And Honda is aware of Canadians with their snow brushes, so there's a special scratch-resistant coating so you don't wreck it with your brush. Now, this is a class-leading trunk space. And if you need to have more space, you can pull these toggles, and the rear seats will drop. It's an enormous pass-through. Should you find yourself locked in the trunk of a car, there's a glow-in-the-dark trunk release button here, loosely known as the soprano button. This is sound insulation. You typically don't find this in a compact car, and this is Honda quality right here. Isn't that amazing? So if you got to carry a lot of things, the Civic is definitely the right car for you. Now let me show you something else that is totally awesome. If the vehicle was locked, I couldn't access the fuel door, but the vehicle is unlocked. So I'll give it a little poke. It is capless refueling. The nozzle just goes straight in. There's no more clicking and cracking, no more gassy smell in your fingers. And I think you'll really appreciate on those cold winter days when you want to fuel up and get going, so you don't have to worry about clicking the cap. All right, enormous amount of standard features on this vehicle. Class-leading fuel efficiency, as I mentioned. These numbers factor in when the government does their fuel testing. They use the paddle shifters, which is a little bit of a novelty. It's the least fuel-efficient way to operate the vehicle. So your fuel should be better than actually what's on the window sticker. And also, you've got the option to engage what's called Eco Assist. It's a little green button beside the shifter. You know the system's in operation when there's a little green leaf on the display. Basically, when the Eco Assist is on, it essentially puts the vehicle into a fuel saver mode. You give up a little bit of power, but it does save you fuel, and there's fewer emissions going into the atmosphere. So that's a good thing too. All right, let's take a look inside. Now, this one being the Touring Edition, it's got leather seats. Any other Civic will have premium cloth seats. Sometimes you have to pay extra for premium seats, but that's already included. Again, there's 3 heat settings, which are absolutely amazing. You got to come in and sit in the car and test drive it to believe it. The steering wheel is telescopic, and it'll go up, down, front, and back. Everything is easy to use too, and all the main controls are on the steering wheel. So your cruise control, your audio control, your Bluetooth, eyes front, nice and safe. Now the Touring Edition has Navi already included. It's Garmin based, which is like the best GPS system. But any other Civic, you can still get it through your phone. So the Honda Civics are compatible with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which means just by plugging your phone in with USB cable, which you'd be using for recharging anyway, you can access Apple Maps, Google Maps, if you're into music, Spotify, and make sure you download the Waze app. This is really cool. If you use Waze, it'll let you know if other drivers have reported like police activity, any hazards on the road. Waze is absolutely awesome. Now the speedometer is digital, so if you went to the States, you can convert it to miles per hour. It's really easy to read. And the center console, 7.2 liters of volume. That is class leading as well. Best in class. You can carry a whole lot of milk in there. The parking brake is electronic, so there's no clunky handbrake anymore. And there's a really neat convenience feature. This one's best shown on a test drive. It's called brake hold. So you know when you stop at a red light, as soon as you take your foot off the brake, the car's going to start rolling forward. When you engage the brake hold system, you can come to a complete stop, you can take your foot off the brake, and it's almost like there's an invisible foot on the pedal. And when you accelerate, it comes off automatically. So the benefit there is it'll take out a lot of the fatigue of stop-and-go traffic. It's also really effective in the Timmy's line in the morning. If you're waiting for one of those 10-mile-long CN rail trains to go by, just relax, and when you accelerate, it'll come off, and it's very smooth, very effective. This one, because it's Touring Edition, it actually has cordless recharging. So just in front of the shifter, depending on your phone if it's compatible, just by having it sit there, you can actually have your phone charging without actually plugging it in. Really nice. It's also an accessory if you want to have it in the other models, but it is pre-equipped on the Touring Edition. Again, the Touring Edition is the big dog. All right, let's have a seat. Power driver seat from the EX trim level and above. It is so comfy. And it's a telescopic steering wheel, as I mentioned before. Up, down. You can be very precise with your comfort settings, okay? It doesn't matter if you're doing short drives or long drives. This is gonna feel so good. Leather wrapped steering wheel, feels so nice to touch. And the screen here is amazing. Your backup camera is gonna come through here. It is fantastic visibility. The lane watch camera is gonna come to the big screen. If you're using your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, or just because it's got Navi, it's all gonna come to the big screen here. So, just awesome. Okay, so that's just a little bit about the Honda Civic. There's so much more to explore. I love this car. Again, made in Canada, you have the top safety, top quality, top fuel efficiency. And if you come to WHITBY Oshawa Honda, I'm sure you will experience the top service in the industry. We love our customers here. So thank you for tuning in.